Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. Saturday college football action. Little local flavor here from Vegas. We got UNLV at Northern Illinois. Guys, there's one question I got to ask, and it's the big question involving UNLV. We know it's going to be a long season. No, can't sugarcoat it. There's no way to do that. I'm sorry. But the big question is, Tony Sanchez, the Bishop Gorman head coach, high school, makes the jump to head coach, no stops along the way. Is this just biting off a little bit too much early on?
It's funny because you try to go back and look at the other examples. I know Todd, when he went to North Texas, the good old guy back from Ohio that took over at Ohio, took over at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Jerry Fowles.
Jerry Fowles,
Yep.
And then ended up at Akron. But it doesn't happen very often, and it's a big change. I mean, Todd was like a legendary in the Texas area, and he came in and he couldn't really turn that team around in North Texas. I mean, I like the hire, I really do. I think it brings new energy. There's a lot of people here in Vegas that don't exactly follow sports betting. They're excited about this team. They're excited about the way it's going, and I like it too. In the long run, I'm not so sure it's going to happen this year.
Yeah. The one difference though is people were coming from all over to somehow get into Bishop Gorman. They're not coming from all over to get into UNLV. So you're not going to have the cream of the crop, to work with. And Bryan, this is your best bet. They played last year, and I see a repeat of what happened last year. 69 carries for Northern Illinois for 331 yards. Why stop? Just keep running it down their throat till they prove that they can stop it.
I hope we don't get the repeat because they covered last year's number. They wouldn't cover this year's number. I chart how the Big Ten and the MAC do when they travel west, and it's never very pretty. I've always gone against the Big Ten teams when they've played the Arizonas and those type of teams. Actually, there's a game this week. Idaho is hosting Ohio. Very similar situation. It wouldn't surprise me if Idaho actually gets a victory there. But looking at this game, last year, Northern Illinois comes out here as a 10-point favorite, and they won by 14 or something. 616 yards. 616 yards, and they still had a hard time because they were dealing with the Las Vegas Heat. And they were able to come back. Every time you thought UNLV was right there, they'd get that extra score. And it was back and forth all year long. I think that prepares Northern Illinois for this game here, is they know what to expect here. And you take a look at dichotomies. Northern Illinois, 30-1 straight up at home. The last 10 years, UNLV 6-54 straight up on the road. And as we all know here in Las Vegas, that brings in a few different coaches, as it hasn't really mattered who the coach has been. I like what UNLV is doing. I think in the long run they're good, but this is a team right now that I want no part of going on the road.
Yeah, you want anything?
Well, we've talked about good news, bad news on returning starters. The good news, or I should say the bad news, if you're handicapping teams in the early portion of the season. Bad news, UNLV is a football team that returns just 10 starters from last year, 5 offense, 5 defense. The good news is they only returned 10 starters from last year. I was a huge Bobby Hauck fan when he arrived. I still think he's a great guy. I think he's a very solid football coach. Look what he did before he got to UNLV, and I was disappointed he wasn't able to turn things around a little bit faster than he did. This is never going to be a 9-win program as long as they have facilities that are half as good as what Tony Sanchez had at Bishop Gorman. He might want to find out how much the rent is to work out at Bishop Gorman for his players because it's an elite level. There is a difference. You mentioned you don't get players from all over the place to come play at UNLV. That's obviously true, but it was kind of cool watching his brother coach Bishop Gorman last week, watching the game, and they said, there's like 3 players already from Bishop Gorman who have given a verbal to Tony Sanchez at UNLV. You didn't see that too often. Elite players from Bishop Gorman the last half dozen years staying home. So he might be able to bring or keep better athletes at home rather than having them run out of state, but they've got to upgrade those facilities. I can't back UNLV here.
This is your best bet? Lay the wood?
Yeah, let's lay the wood here with Northern Illinois. Line's going up. You try to get it now, but don't wait on this one. I don't think there's going to be too many people backing UNLV in this situation. And the situation with UNLV is they're just a young team. The guys that got coming back haven't been really good. And you mentioned Hauck. I thought he was a great coach. If you can't win with him here, I'm not so sure they can win with this coaching staff. It'll take some time, but you know, you got Northern Illinois team that's, I see 4 teams in the MAC fighting it out all year long. It's not many times I want to lay a lot of points with the MAC, but this is one team I want to go against, and that's UNLV early in the season. And, you know, the fans, don't get upset if UNLV gets crushed here, because they're going to get crushed against UCLA, they're going to get crushed against Michigan. Wait till the season goes on. When they get into conference play, they'll be a lot better team at that point. That's when you want to put money on the Rebels.
All right, there you have it. Brian says to go ahead and take Northern Illinois and lay the points, minus 22.5. I saw some 23s popping up this morning. I think it'll continue to go up. That's it. Check out all of the other videos we did this week over at wagertalk.com, and we'll be back next week. I want to thank Bryan Leonard and Scott Spreitzer for joining me in studio, as they will most of the year. Looking forward to a big year, guys. Thanks for opening week.
Thanks.